If you're waiting for your IB results and you're worried, stressed or anxious, you're not alone. But this video is for you. I'm going to give you one or two helpful hints about how to cope with this stressful period, and one or two things I might say along the way may surprise you. So watch until the very end. I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher for 23 years. I'm also an examiner, but most importantly, I think for these videos, is I'm a parent. I've got children of the age who've been through this process and have gone off to university, so I do know what this feels like from both an educator point of view or a parent point of view, and also what this feels like from my own children's perspective. The first thing to talk about is the night before, or maybe even the few days in the run-up to your results day if you're watching this video a few days ahead of time. The first thing I would say is to distract yourself. Think about in the few days in the run-up or the night before, try to distract yourself with time away from thinking about exams or the ramifications of those exam results. Spend time with friends, but ideally the friends who are not going to talk about results or dwell too much on what may go well or what may not go so well on results day. Don't sabotage yourself. Stop the doom scrolling. Get off the student forums, the Reddits, the discourse. There'll be a lot of vortex of chaos information on there that will likely just stress you out. There will be students on there predicting what's going to happen, and the bottom line is nobody knows. I would make sure that I'm watching Netflix series, that I'm taking myself out for walks. If you've got a dog, walk your dog as much as possible. Maybe take a mini break if it's a few days beforehand. But if this is the night before results, then go to the cinema. Use some form of escapism to take your mind off the results the next day. IB results this year, which is 2026, will be released on Monday the 6th of July. So make sure that wherever you are in the world receiving these results, you have your login details ready. Now, obviously, you need to make sure you have your candidate number. You need to have your login details for the IB candidate portal. And you'll be surprised how many students don't have access to those or have lost those on the day of the results. So make sure you have checked in with your IB coordinator, whoever they are, if you don't have immediate access to those details, so that there is nothing stopping you accessing your results as soon as possible, because it is very, very stressful when you start getting word that your friends and colleagues are starting to get their results through and for whatever reason you're not able to. So try and avoid any kind of hindrance with regards to logging in to the portal. Removing decisions on results day removes panic. So check your candidate number. Check your login for the portal, make sure that you know how to access results for that next day, and then try as far as possible to take your mind off that. I would also have a plan for the morning. If you want to open the results by yourself, then make sure your family or whoever you live with, who might be as equally nervous as you are, and believe me, as a parent, we will feel your nerves as much as you might, but if you wish to open them on your own, make sure that's clear. If you're more comfortable with having people around you, then prepare for that as well. The key thing is to having a calm environment ready. Removing decisions on results day removes panic. Now for 2026, the results day is July the 6th. Now obviously, depending on where you are in the world, you will need to figure out what time that results portal opens for you. Another piece of advice I would offer is to make sure that you've written down your required grades or your required point score for whatever university or pathway that you wish to pursue once those results come out. Because there is that feeling of chaos once you click into the portal and you start seeing the points or whether you've got the diploma or not. So it's important that sometimes when you've got that chaos around you, you actually momentarily may forget what the requirements were for your top choice university or even your top 3 choices. So I would write that down so you have it ready in front of you to compare with the actual results that you get. Okay, so the moment of truth. You log into the portal, you see a lot of busy information on that page, take your time, take a breath. Try to avoid opening those results when there is too much going on around you. And that could be, even if you're on your own, people pinging through WhatsApp messages or simultaneously monitoring 5 group chats. Try to make sure that you have time to process what it says on that screen. Many students panic and misread the information. So take your time, take a breath, go through that login page as systematically and as calmly as you possibly can. On that page, you will find your total point score, you will find your subject grades, you will find additional information with regards to your EE or your TOK grading, and the main thing is you will see whether your diploma has been awarded or not awarded. Once you've digested that information, sit with the information for a few minutes. Allow yourself time to digest what it says. Experience your own result before sharing it with the world and before you have to share everyone else's. If you got the result that you wanted or you needed, well done, congratulations. Allow yourself time to celebrate. Obviously, you will want to check UCAS, the Common App, or your local admission system to now verify that you've got yourself onto your university course or whatever the HE pathway is that you're now wanting to proceed with. Give yourself permission to be proud. This has been the culmination of a very long and probably very stressful journey. So give yourself a pat on the back and a well done. Remember to thank people as well. Remember to thank your parents or your family who've been around you on this journey. It might be an idea to drop a quick thanks to the teachers and lecturers or people who've helped to get you to this point. Avoid jumping immediately into what happens next. Obviously, if your plans are firmed up and finalized, then that's wonderful. But allow yourself time to process the results, to think about what comes next, and to stop worrying too much about the intricacies of the next stage of the plan. Similarly, at this point, you will start getting information coming from your friends, from your colleagues, some of whom may have similarly been experiencing joy and elation because it's gone exactly the way they wanted it to. Few people may be very disappointed and you may not hear from them too much. There is also a strange feeling of anticlimax sometimes at this point. Even if you've achieved what you wanted to, it sometimes can feel a little bit flat when suddenly all of that pressure dissipates. That's normal, and it's possibly part of the relief and maybe even the exhaustion at the end of this particular process. If the results didn't go as you would hoped, similarly, don't panic. There is always a plan. There's always a plan B, probably a plan C. The first thing to do is not to be too reactionary. Don't make any hasty, angry emails. Don't make any panic applications. Don't contact anyone until you are ready to do so. The first port of call is probably your IB coordinator or the person at your centre who oversees the IB process. Acknowledge your own disappointment, acknowledge maybe even the shock and the frustration, but also pause and rationally think, okay, things haven't gone the way I envisaged, so what do I do next? And sometimes a pause in that process brings clarity. The worst thing you do is to think, my life is over, there is nothing I can do now. There is always a plan. And in actual fact, it's probably the best plan for you. You may not realize it yet. Once you contact your IB coordinator or your centre coordinator for the IB, they can explain your results. There may be something you've missed and they can go through those in a little bit more detail. They might be able to advise you on next steps, and they might be able to contact universities on your behalf. The key thing to remember is there are people around you to help and to guide you through the process, so don't panic. Very often students think that the universities are not going to accept them. Remember, there is a clearing process. Just because you may have slightly missed the admissions criteria you thought you needed does not immediately rule you out from accessing the first choice course or the second choice course. It might be just you have to play a bit of a waiting game through the clearing process. There is, of course, always an appeal process, and if you feel that there is an aspect of your IB that needs a remark, then that is a possibility. There are costs attached to that, there are risks attached to that, and that is again something you would need to speak very carefully to your IB coordinator about. When they look at your detailed breakdown of results, they will advise you where a remark might be worthwhile and where it might be best avoided. Remember, a remark should be a justified strategic decision, not an emotional reaction. So whether you get the results that you want or things don't quite go to plan, the key message here is not to panic. Take results day in your stride. It is one day that, yes, will have some kind of impact on the rest of your life, but it doesn't have to determine exactly how the rest of your life plays out. It is not the whole story, and it certainly doesn't issue any form of verdict on your future. Where in the world are you checking your IB results from? Let me know in the comments below. If you've already received them, tell us how it went. You might be helping another student who's feeling exactly the same way you are now. Good luck, everybody. See you next time.